looking to lose weight with intermittent fasting, it's important that you set up your eating windows and your fasting windows so that you'll have success. In today's video, we're going to talk about exactly how to do that. So in my own weight loss journey with intermittent fasting, going from an obese BMI down to a normal one and then maintaining that for several years now, one thing I learned was that intermittent fasting is very, very simple, but that also leads you to kind of want to overcomplicate it. And so many people tend to make the mistake, and I certainly have been guilty of this in the past, of trying to make it too complicated. But after some experimentation, what I found was it was really best to just make intermittent fasting very, very easy and very, very simple so that I could stick with it over the long term. And so really all intermittent fasting is on any day that you're intermittent fasting, you're simply breaking your day up into an eating window and a fasting window. So first, let's talk about the fasting window, because that is the one that most people are unfamiliar with. It's the most foreign thing, especially to us Americans, like the idea of fasting for a given period of time. So when you are in the fasting window, you simply do not eat. And that sounds simple enough. And really it is. You could just take that one sentence and just do that, and you would be doing intermittent fasting. But then, of course, the questions start popping up like, well, what about coffee? Can I have coffee? Or what about diet soda? Or what about gum? Can I chew a piece of gum during the fasting window? Is that going to break my fast? And so what I found for myself here was that, there are some people who are going to be very, very strict with this. They're going to say, no, you can't even have water. Like, it's got to be a dry fast for it to count. And then other people are going to be more like, well, you can have water, but that's it. I'm more laid back than all of that. I found for myself that, when I was thinking about long-term with intermittent fasting, not just the short term, what did I think I could do for a week or two, or what did I think I could do for a month, or maybe even a whole year, but what could I foresee myself doing for the rest of my life? I said, I could do this intermittent fasting thing if I allowed myself to have coffee with cream in it. And if I want gum, I'll have gum, but I'm not going to eat. I'm not going to take bites of food. I'm not going to drink soups. I don't do bone broth, anything like that. Those were just my rules. And so again, this comes down to you. What do you want your rules to be? And what I found for myself was it was very helpful to have the ability to drink coffee with cream. For me, that means half and half during the fasting window. And that made it bearable for me. It made it actually not even just bearable, but really enjoyable. So you get to decide for yourself what your rules are. But it is important to decide what your rules are and then be consistent with them, because if in the future you need to change something, it's important to know exactly what you're doing. Otherwise, during the fasting window, you just need to keep yourself busy. Be really productive. Use that time that you would have spent eating to do, work or to, maybe do hobbies, things that you enjoy. Maybe take a nap even, like whatever you can use that time for that is, not for eating, and hopefully something that's edifying for your life. On the other side, you have the eating window. Now, the eating window, one big misconception that people have is like, oh, that just means just eat the entire time. Like it's just 8 hours of eating if you're doing a 16-8. And that's not true. The eating window is that period of time where, yes, you are allowed to eat, but you're not going to lose any weight if basically you're just eating the entire time. What I found worked best for me was to always try to think in terms of just having meals. So I didn't have a hard and fast rule against snacking, but what I found over time for me was that generally when I wanted to snack, it was truly just emotional eating, eating out of boredom or just procrastination on something. So instead, I tried to, just work on having meals. So what I found helpful, and what a lot of people find helpful, is to have a meal to open up your window. And hopefully that meal will be enough to keep you full until maybe close to the end of your window. And then you can eat another meal then your window closes and you begin fasting again. And so during the meantime, after you've had your meal, but it's still in your eating window, it's a good idea to, again, stay productive, doing things, like it depends on what your life is, maybe you're at a job, maybe you're, at home, maybe you're retired. So your life is very unique. So, but staying busy doing something, or maybe using some of that time to go for a walk. I walk 6 miles a day, Monday through Saturday, and that keeps me busy for part of either the fasting window or the eating window, depending on what I'm doing. So what foods should you eat during the eating window? I just just eat whatever I like. That was one big thing that I decided back several years ago. I said, I'm just going to eat what I like, and I want to learn how to lose the weight while I'm eating all the delicious food I love. I personally love to cook, and so most of the eating I do is home cooked meals, things from scratch, generally speaking. I don't do a lot of pre-packaged food, but that's just my own preference because I like to cook. But I don't have any rules against, eating carbs or anything like that. I eat just a good mix of all the different foods, and I don't have any restrictions on desserts or even wine or things like that. I think this is one area where a lot of people get hyper focused. They think that they've got to really worry about, what they're eating, and they try to really overcomplicate that, when really what I found is it's more important to pay attention to what the scale's doing. If the scale is not moving down, it means I'm eating too much. If the scale is moving down, it means I'm eating the right amount to lose weight. And if I'm wanting to maintain, as long as the scale is staying in a range that I want it to be, then I'm eating the right amount. So eat what you like during your meals, but then when you're not eating meals, stay productive, even during your eating window, so that you're not so focused on the food, you're instead focused on living life. So it's pretty straightforward. The fasting window is for fasting, and the eating window is for eating your meals. Now, how long should those windows be? That's the big question on a lot of people's minds when they first begin intermittent fasting. And the thing is, it's a very individual thing. Some people have really good success with a shorter fasting window, and then some people only have success with a longer fasting window. And you're basically going to have to do some trial and error to see which works best for you. If you're the type of person who likes big meals, then it might just be that you're going to do better with a shorter eating window, something maybe like an 18-6 or even a 24, or maybe even one meal a day. But if you're somebody who likes smaller portions, can't really do big meals, you might do better on something like a 14-10, where you're doing 14 hours of fasting and 10 hours of an eating window. But really in the beginning, it's likely that you aren't experienced at all with fasting, and to try to just jump right in to say a 14-hour fast is going to feel pretty difficult. What I did for myself was I started out with a very simple time boundary around food. I said, I'm not going to eat past 10 p.m. and I'm not going to eat before 6 a.m. That's only 8 hours of fasting. And, maybe some people would scoff at that and say, that's not even fasting. But for me, that's what I need to start out with. And then what I did from there was I just pushed breakfast a little later, till eventually it was like, oh, it's, 8 o'clock before I'm eating breakfast, and I'm not eating past 10 p.m. So, that was like 10 hours. And then I pushed my eating at night. I was like, okay, I'm going to not eat past 9. And eventually I got to the point where I'm doing like a 12-hour fast and then a 13-hour fast. And you can do that too. You can slowly build up to it. The key there is to realize that you may not experience any weight loss until you get to, say, like a 14-10. Some people don't really experience a lot of weight loss until maybe a 16-8 or even an 18-6. And like I said, some people, even get to a further point out, like a 1 meal a day type situation. And that's where they have success. But ultimately, this comes down to you and what do you feel best at? I think that there's a sweet spot for everybody. And the way I define that sweet spot is you're feeling good. So during the fasting window, you may feel a little bit hungry, when it's time to, open up your eating window, but you're not starved feeling. And the scale is moving down. If the scale is not moving down and maybe it's feeling really easy, it's likely that you either need to start eating less during your eating window and keep it the same length, or shorten your eating window. On the other hand, if the scale is moving down and you are feeling good, then you're right where you need to be. And I would say the big thing to watch out for there is to not then make it harder on yourself in the quest for faster results, because that's always the big temptation. Oh, if I'm losing a pound a week doing this, then if I just make it, harder on myself, I'll lose the weight faster. And that's not always the way it goes, because if you make yourself miserable, then a lot of times you're going to end up quitting because it's too hard. That was the mistake I kept making over and over again prior to 2016. And don't lose heart. In the beginning, intermittent fasting takes some getting used to. Like I said, when I was first doing this was like an 8-hour fasting window for me. I was like sleeping through it. And it was still, it took discipline to say, I'm not eating past 10. I'm not eating before 6, And over time, though, it has become easier and easier and easier. Now I've done, OMAD for a lot of the time. And that's basically a 24-hour fast. And that doesn't feel very challenging challenging at all. So it's like any other skill, just over time with practice, you get better at it and it feels easier. Now, one last tip is that once you find that length of time of a fasting window that you feel good at, that you're getting results at, maybe like a pound of weight loss a week, then stick with that. And to make it really, really easy on yourself, just keep it at the same time every day. So, if you just say, my general rule is I only eat between the hours of 11 a.m. and 7 p.m., that's going to be a lot easier rather than trying to recalculate your windows every day. Because that can get, for some of us, a little bit taxing and it can feel more overwhelming than it really needs to be. But ultimately, find what works for you. So I hope you found this video helpful. If you'd like to see more content like this, be sure to subscribe to this channel, and I'll see you in the next video.